Crummer kick, which takes a bounce right into the arms of Jamie Jones Buchanan.
I remember coming up to Headingley as a real historic Yorkshire ground, and I had a big appreciation for what it was. And by the time I was 7, I'd a wonder over here. I've always been a sportsman. The vehicle of sport was a big part of my life because I enjoyed competing. I remember walking onto stands here in East Stand and seeing Leeds versus Cass in 80s and being blown away. I think there was about 15,000 people. I remember them talking about at the time. And quite exciting, and then obviously playing for Stanley when I was from 9 years old and becoming a real South Stander, studying there with all my friends and seeing all my heroes out on the pitch. Never once thought I'd end up actually ever playing for Leeds. You talk about 20 years there, it's unbelievable. If I'd have played just one game with Jones Buchanan up back at shirt, that'd have been a dream come true. By the time I was 15, signed for Leeds and went on this journey as a professional rugby league player, and just so exciting at the time, coming into the academy with some real legends, people like Kevin Sinfield, George Rhino and Gary Smith, who were really talented players of my generation, used to represent Yorkshire and obviously Lancashire respectively, and to come and sign for my hometown club with some of the calibre of young players at the time was unbelievable. Great memories, thinking maybe I've got a chance here of going on a journey with Leeds RL. Obviously, as we know, then they're only just changing to Rhinos, but my debut, obviously a massive special day. Coming up there, I remember seeing my shirt for the first time, and I always tell the story, a bit of a joke, that it only had Jones on back at shirt, there was no Jones Buchanan, and it actually took me 7 years to get Jones Buchanan on the back, but I wasn't too disappointed. I wasn't disappointed at all, actually. I just want to get out there, go represent my club and put my best foot forward. We had a wonderful academy side. In that first full year, we only ever lost one game at the Boulevard against Hull, and we always had this mentality that we were going to come out and set the platform for the first team. So we were really blessed that we'd play a lot of our games as curtain raisers. We'd come out, we got this ability to learn about the environment, running out onto the Headingley Stadium and getting to know what that feels like in front of a big crowd, which I think is really important for a young player's development. And we did that on a weekly basis, and we had this mad belief that if the first team was going to go win and play well, then the academy needed to start by laying that foundation. We'd always talk about it, and we'd come out and more often than not we'd get the win.
Now he breaks away the New Zealand international, helps it on towards Jamie Jones Buchanan.
It was a really exciting time at the club, obviously. Just won at Wembley there, beating London Broncos in a big win, really. And it's been a long time since Leeds had won a Challenge Cup, so there's a real excitement around the city and around the club. And obviously getting a chance to run out not long after that was great to be a part of that excitement. But I'll be honest with you, I've played nearly 420 games, and the novelty's never worn off. I still feel as excited now as I did back then. I don't remember much about the game, which might become a reoccurring theme actually. I just remember Jamie Field, who used to play at Leeds before he went to Wakefield, giving me a bit of a whack and thinking, wow, how tough's this? But I survived it, and by God's grace, the late great Graham Murray gave me a few games that season, and it was the start of a wonderful journey. From being 4 years old, I always said I was very idolatrous about winning. And winning was king, and it became a huge part of my identity. So winning and performance it meant the world to me. So not being able to perform through injury was catastrophic. And there was this real worry, having spent maybe 18 months and 2 operations out with a bad groin, that I might never get back to full fitness. I might never make it into Leeds first team on a regular basis, and my career might have been cut short through no real fault of my own or anything that I could really account for. But when I look back now, I always talk about the Refiners Fire and how all these experiences refine us and help us mould and get shaped into better individuals when we go through those adverse periods. And whilst it was tough, I always had the support of the club. The club gave me every bit of medical treatment that I needed, every ounce of attention and opportunity to get back to full fitness, which I eventually did, and I had to reinvent myself. I wasn't ever as quick, I was never as agile. I just became an industrious grafter off the back of that. When I look back, horrible at the time, but I wouldn't change a thing because it forged me into the person I am today. In 2004, I think we won every game that season at Headingley, and we got beat for the first time against Bradford here in that first eliminator. And I didn't play in that game, and I was devastated at the time because I'm thinking, well, Leeds are going to beat Bradford and then he'll keep the same team, which will play in the grand final and go on and win. Now, you've got to understand, as a professional player, you always want to be in the team. With my Leeds Rhinos fan hat on, it didn't really matter as long as Leeds got to the grand final and obviously won it. But as a young up-and-coming player, you want to play in every game. But we got beat, and for the first time in the season, Tony Smith put me in, and after the win against Wigan, that win, he kept the same team for the grand final, and that was the first time he'd done that in the year. Kept the same team 2 weeks on the bounce, which meant that obviously Matt Adamson missed out. I got an opportunity to be on the bench and not just see, but play a part in winning the first championship of my lifetime. So whilst I'd been alive, I'd come up here and I'd seen a plethora of outstanding Leeds teams just come up short and always seem to finish second to Wigan. You know, your Scollers and your Ellerys and Kevin Iros and all that era, they never quite seem to be able to get over the mark. And the first time I seen a Leeds team do it, you know, I was fortunate to be on the pitch and be a part of it. You know, the World Club Challenge there, Ellen Road, 2005, Canterbury Bulldogs, I was absolutely terrified. It was probably one of the most nerve-wracking games I've ever played in. I'm still a young kid, and this is the first final that I've started in. So it's obviously a couple of games into it, and Tony Smith's given me a start there against an NRL side. An NRL, everybody's thinking, oh, it's NRL, the best competition in the world, and got all these preconceptions about what it's going to be. And not only that, it's at Ellen Road. Now, aside of Headingley Stadium, which is obviously my favourite ground and really iconic, Ellen Road is another special, iconic venue in Leeds, and I've grown up as a Leeds United supporter as well. Anything Leeds, all Leeds that way, I love it all. So I'll have the opportunity to play for Leeds Rhinos at Ellen Road is almost fulfilling a lifelong dream that I used to remember as a kid having, being the first ever rugby league player and soccer player, which was never going to happen, but playing at Ellen Road in some way sort of mitigated that. Some of my memories were having a bit of a scuffle and a fight, and I remember just getting off at the floor thinking, I can't fight on deck here, I need to get up. Scoring the try, which was really nice as well at Ellen Road. It was really, really special. Some real special players. When I think back, there are lads like Richie Mathers and Chev Walker, the real homegrown Leeds talent that had come through and become world champions. I remember the changing rooms after, we're all sat there and Tony Smith's addressing the team, and the Queen song comes on, we are the champions of the world, and from a domestic club level, we were the champions of the world. Leeds Rhinos was the best team in the world, symbolically, by winning that World Club Challenge. And wow, to do that at Ellen Road just blew my mind, and it was a great catalyst for what obviously went on to be a fantastic decade. It was a very special group of players, and statistically I don't know if you'll ever get a group like that coming through at the same time, all born at the same sort of era, and coming into a club environment like Leeds Rhinos and a little bit like young seedlings, just flourishing and growing in what was a world-class environment and fulfilling our potential. It was a real special moment, and I think it's really important to understand that we've talked a lot about culture as well over the last decade, and you know, how do you define a culture? If you could bottle it up, it'd be the archetypal golden egg, it would be the golden goose, it'd be the most valuable thing in the world. But actually I've come to realise that there are cultural architects, there are people who create an environment based on their own thoughts, beliefs and ideas, and for me, Kevin Sinfield being one, lads like Rob Burrow, Danny Maguire, and that nucleus around which everything revolved for 10 or 15 years were the culture. And obviously now we're in a brand new stadium, we're in a new era, I'm playing with a new generation, and it's really important to bring that identity and that new generation, the new culture, the new environment out of those people, which obviously takes time. A lot of people think that it happened overnight for us, but actually when you go back and think about our academy team, Rob, Mags, myself, Chev, Mathers, Kev, whoever, it still took us 4 or 5 years for us to get over. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. There's no real success. We got to a couple of Challenge Cup finals, but it took a bit of time to develop. But once it did, it was all congruent. It was almost unstoppable, and no matter what scenario we found ourselves in, no matter what piece of adversity, whether it be going through pre-season or within the last 2 minutes of a game, we'd always find what we needed to find to come up with a result, or we'd always bounce back with the energy, like a phoenix coming back from the ashes. We'd never stay down for too long and always find what we needed to be successful again. Winning 3 grand finals in a row, 2007, 2008, 2009, amazingly special. And you're right, it is a salary cap sport, but when you've got homegrown boys who play for Leeds, and many of them could have gone on and played at other clubs for more money, the loyalty and the identity of being a Leeds lad and representing that jersey was worth much more than the extra money that they could have got elsewhere. So you're talking about salary cap, but it was actually mitigated and balanced out by the fact that that group just wanted to play for Leeds. We'd grown up at South Stands, and that was the most important thing. So we had probably a better squad than what it might have looked like on the balance sheet. And we go out there, and as I mentioned, because we've been through these refiners' fires, these difficult periods, some real tough times, and worked so hard for so many years under some amazing coaches. And when we had an opportunity to get to a grand final and go out, make whatever sacrifices we needed to do, bring whatever energy we needed to bring, we'd go out there and we'd play, and just seem to play really well.
Well, now he's got it off to Diskin. Diskin inside, Jones Buchanan. Buchanan will score. That's it.
Yes, it was a try, and even now I'm not so sure whether it was just one blade of grass that qualified it, because I remember thinking, did I get it down or not? Because I bounced off a few Saints players. I think we was 20 odd points up anyway at the time, maybe 27. I remember bouncing into Paul Wellens, and he tried the competitive player that he is, didn't want to let me score even though it was in the death of the game, but I got the ball down and really excited. Obviously, having scored in the grand final, a World Club Challenge, and some nice special moments. When you look back and you see the try scorers and your names there, you think, yeah, it was real. I played in that game, and it's a great thing for the legacy as well. When I show my kids those moments and those times, yeah, I played in that. I remember that game. Look, I scored a try.
I played in some finals now where they go right to the death. To play in the Challenge Cup final with 2 or 3 minutes left after Danny had kicked that top goal, you knew the game was on.
Yeah, I think it was just relief at the end of the whistle. To be able to win there and get the monkey off the back and bring the Challenge Cup home, it were a brilliant day.
2014, yeah, it was unbelievable because it was the bookend. It was 10 years, obviously, from the first grand final win in 2004. And you talk about missing pieces at jigsaws. We got the all-elusive Challenge Cup final win in 2014, but you'll remember afterwards, much to everybody's disappointment and amazement, we absolutely crashed out. We lost every single game after that. So whilst it was a very sweet moment, 2014, getting that first ever Challenge Cup final, we obviously didn't win another game all year. So it was another big learning curve. So playing for my country, it was an immense honour. Obviously, I think every player wants to test himself at the highest level, playing against teams like Australia. And I was fortunate to play a few times against New Zealand. In fact, I played in the very last Great Britain game back in 2007, so fortunate to have a Great Britain shirt over there. But yeah, represented England in the World Cup in 08, which wasn't a massive success, but I think my prime was 2011 when I got back in the England side. I remember playing in the Exiles games and then went on to play against Australia at Wembley and at Ellen Road as well, which was really exciting. Back at Ellen Road, representing my country. And I remember one photograph that I've got is I'm being tackled by Darren Lockyer, I think Johnny Thurston and Cameron Smith, and you think, wow, I've played against some decent players as well, and there's just no emotion on my face. It's just anger and determination to try and get through them. But it's not until you finish and you reflect and look back on that journey that you actually appreciate who you've played against and what you've done.
Briscoe's got the chance for a fifth. Tom Briscoe will make it 5, and that is history.
It's like it's heading for a draw. Maguire down the line. More.
2015 was a year that you couldn't have scripted in the wildest dream, the best dream. And you know, when you talk about joy or disappointment, it always sits in the gap between expectation and reality. So if you'd have told me at the beginning of 2015 that we were going to win the treble, first time in club's 120 history, you'd just been blown away. How good's this? But then you throw on top the drama of the fact that I'm not going to play in any of those finals. And it would in fact be the first time I'd missed a final in 18 of them. Then that throws another crazy narrative mix on that. And the experience was unusual because I'd obviously played a lot of years with my teammates, always been out there in the battles and the wars with each one of them. But this time I wasn't going to be able to do it, but I never felt any less inclusive or any less a part of the journey. And that for me was the most rewarding year of my career. And it's ironically the time when I didn't win personally any medals. You know, I always say that winning was idolatrous for me, it meant the world, but actually something emerged that transcended winning that year. And that was symbolic of when Kev took me up in that Challenge Cup final when they beat OKR 50-0 and Tom Briscoe scores 5 tries. An amazing day. Kev takes me up to lift the trophy with him. And that for me symbolises why that generation was so successful. Yes, they were good players, yes, we had some talent and some great local lads and imports from overseas, but actually it was about what was in here. We were all so sacrificial, selfless, benevolent, altruistic, and that's what really shone in 2015. And you know, when we got around to 2017 and there was an opportunity to make a documentary about it and show the rest of the world what actually went on, it was just mind-blowing, and that in itself was as good as winning a grand final ring. Now obviously 2015 as well, what a lot of people don't realise, and you would see in the film, is that you know there was a lot of drama behind the scenes with obviously Kev Sinfield. He announced that he was going to Rugby Union. You had Jamie Peacock, who was going through some physical difficulties of his own. The Alexander the Great Rugby League, the guy who never ever takes a backward step or shows any weakness, is starting to struggle. And obviously Kyle Luluai had some health problems as well. 3 really iconic players who all retired that season, who were all massive catalysts in getting the win. But actually there was a lot that they had to go through behind the scenes to get that done, and I don't think people will ever really realise how important or how iconic that 2015 year was. It's defined me. It's just defined me. It's as simple as that. I think it's really important for people to realise that the club has brought me up from being 15 years old. So I arrived at this club as a child, and even in my childhood it was influential. But I arrived here as a child, and even the most important thing in my life, which is my Christian faith and then my family, even my faith was brought about through Leeds Rhinos, because Ali Lawatiti took me to church. So everything that I am today, the individual that I've been forged and moulded into, has come about through living here, which is my second home, or it is my home at Leeds Rhinos. So the last 20 years is just been mind-blowingly spectacular, and you couldn't have scripted it. I wouldn't change a thing, and I couldn't have asked for any more. I mean, I'm getting hairs up back in my neck. And you know, if you'd have told me that when I was a young kid watching Leeds in South Stand, you'd go, give over. There's just no way. But it's amazing, mate, and I have to pinch myself, and I get emotional. Because I look back on it and it has changed. We've got a new ground and it's beautiful and it's outstanding, and I'm really excited about when I retire, and hopefully there might be some position for me at the club, even if it's cutting the grass or in the water. I'm not bothered, because I want to move forward into the future and watch the next generation come through. But I will say that, you know, when I'm sat in the North Stand now and I'm looking at people like Danny Maguire playing for OKR, and the old moody dark South Stand gone, it is like the old era has been bottled up, and it's a wonderful memory, and nobody can ever change it or take it away from us. It'll always be there forever. And I've even got a piece of the old stand in my garden now. It forms part of my garden. You know, some of the seats in my garden are part of the old North Stand. So those memories, even the old long scoreboard with the little lights in. It's all stuck in here in my heart and mind, and it'll always be a part of who I am until the day I die. It'll influence my decisions and my thought processes. It's forged me and created me into who I am today. So it's been wonderful. But almost all things must come to an end eventually, and I'm really excited about what's next. I've learnt so much, and I see other lads like Kev Sinfield, Jamie Peacock in their next chapter now and thriving in there and making a real difference, being really influential, and I'm really looking forward to doing that.
It's a little crummer kick which takes a bounce right into the arms of Jamie Jones Buchanan.